Hey there, welcome to the Gyro Step, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast, proudly a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and GSPN. I am Ty Windisch, joined not as always by a special guest, but joined as always by the exceptional Rohan Katti. Rohan, how's it going?
Doing well. Very excited about this. Let's not waste too much time here. We had a chance to talk with one of the newest members of the Milwaukee Bucks big boy squad in AJ Green. He was obviously last year on the Bucks with a two-way contract his rookie season, but now he has a fresh new multi-year contract as a member of the full Milwaukee Bucks roster. And we were thrilled to be able to get the chance to talk with him about all things like himself, like his contract, summer league, coaching staff, whatever. It was a great conversation, and I can't wait to share it with all of you.
Yeah, we've gotten to speak with AJ before after herd games and the post-game interviews, but being able to do a longer form conversation like this was really, really cool. We're very excited to share some of the great insight that AJ shared with us. So without further ado, enjoy the interview. All right, AJ, again, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. Let's just start out real simple here. How is your summer going? And how's that ankle feeling? I know it was kind of bothering you heading into summer league, although you were, able to play at least a little bit out in Vegas.
Yeah, it's been a great summer so far. I mean, bouncing back after summer league, kind of just getting back into that routine, feeling healthy, and working out. So my ankle is great. It's been feeling great. Been in the gym, working out, just kind of back on that grind a little bit, trying to get ready and prepare for this next season.
What's the routine been like this summer? Ever since summer league ended?
Yeah, it's just, I'm back home right now, but just in the gym, every day, getting my work in, shots up, and getting in the weight room and doing some kind of fun, just movement, game type stuff. Just trying to get athletic and trying to just prepare my body for the season.
Absolutely. Obviously, huge milestone for you this summer, signing that NBA deal. The news broke the night of the Bucks' first summer league game. So I wanted to know, did you know going in? Was that kind of determined as a result of camp there, or what was that process like? 'Cause I know a lot of Bucks fans were very excited. We didn't know that news was coming, obviously. But what was it like from your perspective? Did you find out that day, or did you kind of know going in and it was made official then or something like that?
Yeah, I had just been talking with my agent, and he had been talking with the Bucks a little bit. So he kind of just hit me. I had an idea that it might be coming, but he kind of just hit me that day and told me and let me know. But it was crazy. It took a while to soak it all in, and really, it still doesn't seem quite real yet. So I'm just grateful, for another opportunity to just continue the journey.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just a massive, massive milestone moment for you. Congratulations again.
Yeah.
On signing that deal.
Obviously,
you've been with the Bucks last year on a two-way contract. You did impress a lot of the Bucks fans with some standout games in Milwaukee, but you really dominated in your time in Oshkosh with the Wisconsin Herd, up with Ty in Oshkosh. You averaged more than 20 a game. Do you feel like your play in Milwaukee or Oshkosh had more of an impact on you both as a player and on proving to the organization that you deserve to be a full-time Buck?
I'd like to think they kind of go hand in hand a little bit, and it's both. I think having the opportunity to go up to Oshkosh and have the ball a little bit more in my hands and showcase a little bit of playmaking and what I can do, and then being able to come down with the Bucks in Milwaukee and just show that whatever they need me to do, whatever that role may be, that I can fill that and just help the team win. So I love, being able to go back and forth and just go up to Oshkosh and hoop, play 30-plus minutes, and then come down and learn and get opportunities with the Bucks.
Absolutely. And, you had more opportunities in summer league this year. Again, not as many, I think, because of the ankle and also a pretty stacked roster numbers-wise. But you did get to play and at least, practice and play with the rookies, Andre Jackson Jr., Chris Livingston, Amari Moore. What's kind of your impression of this Bucks rookie class? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about, kind of a different focus maybe in the draft going for players who are, high percentile athletes and just different kind of molds. What was your thought on playing with those guys and what you think about them and how they'll fit onto the team?
Yeah, I was impressed. I think they all compete, they all play hard, and they all want to win. And I think when you got just those things alone, you got opportunities to build and grow. Chris, just his aggressiveness and using his athletic ability and to defend and get downhill, play at the rim, and obviously Andre is a great athlete, but just his desire to play hard and play the right way and have fun. It's amazing to play with guys like that. And Amari, you can tell he's been in college for a while. He knows the game. He knows how to play the right way and can make plays that way. So I think it's going to be great, having them around, and I'm excited to get back to Milwaukee and just, get to know them better and, get to find that flow on the court with them.
Yeah, and just one more, I guess, on that idea quickly. I mean, partially because, you weren't able to get out there and play as much as I'm sure you wanted to, maybe not the best spacing on the floor. I think, it's kind of our thought that all of those guys, especially, with NBA spacing, on the Bucks, like with yourself, Chris Middleton, like these shooters, those guys I think would be set up in a better position, I think, to look good out there. Do you agree with that? Do you think that those guys are better suited for, the NBA game than maybe the summer league game where maybe there wasn't as much spacing or offensive flow all the time?
Yeah, for sure. I think, as great as summer league is, it is tough in ways that you have such limited time with so many guys to try and just learn how to play with them, that things can kind of get jumbled a little bit. But like you said, with the space and just the time and knowing what they need to do with the Bucks, I think they'll all really just mesh well and fit in and be able to take those opportunities and just showcase what they can bring.
I have to ask you this about the rookies. Are you most excited for the fact that they are indeed rookies and you are no longer one and aren't subjected to any rookie duties that may have come your way last season?
I mean, it'll be nice to have some youthfulness around some younger guys on the team. But no, in terms of like the rookie duties, it's not bad at all. Our vets are great guys, so they weren't making us do anything crazy. But
nothing crazy. What's the worst thing they did?
It's really like nothing at all. Like it was just sometimes we grab some food. We got to sing happy birthday to everybody, but other than that, it's pretty laid back.
The Bucks family culture strikes again, and I think it's ultimately a good thing, but maybe less stories for us, but that's okay. I mean, I think we'd much rather have that good culture. The playoff run for you guys, of course, didn't go how any of us wanted it to go, and then ultimately the franchise makes a big move, right? The coaching change with Adrian Griffin coming in for Mike Budenholzer, and of course this gets analyzed mostly by media or by fans who aren't like in there working with these people. And especially for you, coming off your rookie year, playing on the two-way contract, was that kind of unsettling for you, given that, I mean, I think we all agree, like you had a strong season. I felt like you certainly impressed people and kind of probably impressed this coaching staff. And now there's a change going into this pivotal offseason for you. Was that kind of an unsettling moment? And then what was your first impression when you did get to meet Adrian Griffin, whether that was like at the press conference or whenever that was able to happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's things like that. You really can't stress too much because I have no say or control over it. Like all I can do is just have an opportunity to make impressions with new coaches and just show what I can do and how I can help the team win. So that's all I tried to focus on. But Coach Griffin, I mean, my first impressions is I love the guy. He's a very personable dude to be around, easy to talk to, and just being with him at Summer League and on the court with him. I love what he's going to bring and what he's got planned for us on both ends of the floor. So I'm just excited to get back there and really start working and get to know all the coaches just a little bit more.
For sure. You talked previously to The Athletic about Adrian Griffin's offense. You said described it as a lot of side-to-side, playing advantage basketball, keeping advantage basketball, finding good shots. And you said you'll be able to help out in that offense with your understanding of the game and keeping it simple. Obviously, you can't give away too many state secrets here, but what should Bucks fans expect to look different when the team is on offense next season?
I think just kind of like it's alone. like side to side, so it's multiple actions. Um, we're always, because of who we have on the team with Giannis and Chris, like those will always be guys, and we're going to go to them and run through them. But I think just I think when you have a team of five guys that are skilled and know the game, you can just make it so much easier by playing that way, like side to side, one action, nothing gets to the next, and just make teams guard. And it's very hard to guard that way. So I think just knowing that and knowing hoops, hopefully I'll be able to fit in and find my role within that. But I'm very excited just to get working with them.
Absolutely. So we had Javon Carter on the show soon after he joined the Bucks, and we kind of asked him, like, what's it like to be known as a defender, right? Because that was the book on Javon Carter. Probably not anymore, and I think the contract speaks to that. He clearly showed he has more skills, but coming into Milwaukee, he was viewed as a defender. And he said he actually liked it because he thinks opponents then kind of underrate what else he could do on the floor. Do you kind of feel the same way about being known as a shooter? Like, is it ever annoying? Do you feel pigeonholed, or is that just like speak to your abilities and give you that opportunity to maybe surprise people with, as you mentioned, like your playmaking or other aspects of your game?
Yeah, I'm not too, I think, like you said, I don't feel pigeonholed or too worried about what it is, because those are things other people, think or how they kind of place me. And I know the things that I can do and what I can bring. And obviously I can shoot, and that's what I'll be known as. But I think there's room to build too, once, if I'm fortunate enough to continue growing and staying on this journey, just continuing to build trust and showcase other things that I can do with my game. And I'm just going to, take it day by day and just, month by month throughout the journey.
It's always funny whenever I hear these kind of characterizations of players. I always think back to that. I don't know if you've seen this clip of Jose Alvarado when he like first came into the league with the Pelicans, and there was just like the defender like, "Hey, can he shoot?" He's like, "Yes, I can shoot." And then he's just like,
Yeah.
I always think of that because it's like, obviously these players can do so. They're in the NBA. it's these are the top percentile of basketball players in the world. Like, obviously they're gonna have their strengths, they're gonna have their weaknesses, but they can do like everything.
Yeah, it's like when I was a kid, I'd watch baseball with my dad, and every player I'd be like, "Can this guy hit a home run?" And he had to be like, "Yeah, they can all hit home runs. Like they're in the MLB. Like they can get it out of here. Trust me." So yeah, it is a little funny how I think just for, I guess, ease of discussion or whatever, people just like oversimplify, talking about players, certainly, and I think that. It's probably good to just, I mean, I'm sure as in your position now as an NBA player, you kind of have to just ignore like everything people outside of the organization say for the most part, right? Because I mean, there's just so much noise, especially these days about the league. I mean, do you ever see the stuff going around like trade rumors or anything like that? Or do you just kind of like ignore all of it and just like say, I'll leave that for, the fans, the podcasters, whoever else?
Yeah, you can't really pay attention to it. You're gonna notice it, and I mean, because it's everywhere. It's all on social media, but you can't worry about it or let it get in your head, because I mean, like I mentioned earlier, you have no control over those things. And so I just, trust in the plan that whatever might happen, it was supposed to happen, and I'm just gonna run with it and make it work.
For sure. Like, and speaking of having like an ironclad mentality, you're in a position where it's like we've seen how important shooting is around like a dominant inside force like Giannis. We like people who have played with LeBron, like they've talked in the past about it. It's like, yeah, it's a lot of pressure being like a shooter around like a guy like LeBron, because he relies on that sort of spacing. And it's like I forget who it was. They said like, yeah, some players can't take that. Does that sort of like responsibility like affect your mindset at all? Is there just like that same ironclad mentality? I got to do what I got to do.
No, I look forward to it because it makes my job easier. Like, he draws so much attention that if he just chooses to kick it out to me, like, I'm most likely going to have space and I'm just going to let it fly. Like, I think the more you play with those guys, the more there's trust that's built. And so I just see it as opportunity. And like, if you, at the end of the day, regardless if you make shots or not, like, you're out there playing in the NBA, and like, if you put the work in and the time, the majority of, it's going to play out where you're going to make shots and have success. So I just trust in that.
Absolutely. Do you feel like it's kind of helped along by the fact that, as we had almost joked about earlier, although it is a real thing, the Bucks do have that kind of, family-like culture of, it seems like, obviously we're not in there, we're not in the locker room or playing on the team, of course, but my jumper's broken. But that culture of kind of just like picking people up versus the opposite, like, do you think that helps with kind of, playing with Giannis or taking these open shots when defenses collapse on him, and just knowing like, it's going to be still a good atmosphere after that, whether it goes in or not?
Yeah, for sure. We got such a great team with great guys. Like, it's always, next play, I'm gonna pick you up, keep going, like, keep shooting it, and that's all you can ask for, especially as a rookie last year, and having teammates like that where it's no egos, and they really just want the best for you and want you to have success. It just gives you so much confidence, to just go out there and play.
For sure. Speaking of good teammates, we saw that the Bucks managed to retain Chris Middleton, managed to retain Brook Lopez in free agency. Obviously, a big win for the city, the organization, and I'm sure you're happy to have your guys back. But with Chris and Brook back, getting to more of the defensive side of the ball, do you expect the team to retain a lot of the same defensive principles as last season? Or do you expect them to be more aggressive, which is what Adrian Griffin's known for in his time with like Toronto and stuff? Especially considering like Brook Lopez, drop back big, like he's obviously had a ton of success doing that. What's your perspective? Do you think it'll be more similar to last year, or sort of be switched up?
I think just from hearing what Coach Griffin was saying during summer league, and what he wants to do and how he wants to defend, I think it'll be different. But we haven't had the full team together to work out or practice or anything, so it's hard to say. But I think just going off what Coach Griffin has mentioned before, I expect it to be different.
Are you excited about that, or is it just again another thing that's going to happen, and you'll adjust to it one way or another?
Yeah, I'm excited about it because it's something different and something new that I can work on and add to my game and just have options. So I'm excited to get after it and learn. Always learning, and there's a million different ways to do things and have success. And I think the more you can explore with those options and then figure out what works for you and what doesn't, and just build to kind of who you are, it's going to be better in the long run.
Absolutely. And I guess following up on defensive changes and versatility, I found this fascinating. You mentioned in an interview with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that one of your focuses this summer is unlearning some defensive habits from college that you felt like needed to be ironed out. I would love to hear, just as, anytime I hear a pro player talk about the nuances like that, I get really interested, because this is the kind of thing that I'm sure it would be really hard for us to pick up from just watching, unless we heard you mention it like you did. As much as you can share, like, what sort of things are you looking to iron out, and how do you think that will translate to defending next season?
Yeah, I think, in college or just growing up, like defense in general, it's a lot of just like slide, like push and slide and move your feet type of thing. But like, it's impossible to guard somebody if they're sprinting full speed downhill and you're trying to slide with them, like, or like wall up with your chest, and like dudes in the NBA are just gonna bump you one time and like cave your chest in, like it's over. So finding ways just to move, turn and run, give ground and kind of corral guys. And really, for me, I know I'm not going to be like Drew where he's out there like shutting guys down, but I know that I have the length and I can move well enough to force shots that we want to live with and our low percentage shots that over time, we'll win games guarding that way. And that's really all I'm trying to do. And my goal is defensively.
One thing that we had talked about, with yourself and someone like Marjan Beauchamp coming in last year was this team has so many veteran wings who have made their careers in the league separate ways. I mean, you mentioned Drew is a guard, but of course he can guard any wing. Wesley Matthews, another like elite defensive player. Of course, Chris, who is so much sauce offensively and has been an elite defensive player in the league. Joe Ingles, the playmaking and shooting. And we kind of hypothesized that would be kind of the perfect environment for a young wing to come up in, because you have all these different guys with their different careers and who have played and won in different styles. Because we always joke like, I'm sure there is a lot that you can get from Giannis, but on the court wise, like Giannis, hey AJ, just dunk over three guys, right? Like I don't know how much of that translates, but all these wings, like I would love to hear what that was like, and if there was anything specific that you got from those guys that really clicked for you.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like I felt like the whole year I was kind of just like I had the ears open all the time. Just any conversations or in huddles, practice, I was always right there, just trying to listen and pick things up. And whether it was with Wes and just all the things defensively, like positioning, like just keeping your hands there for poke at the last second or contest, and like fighting through screens, watching how Drew does that, or if it was offensively with Joe and just how he wanted to position guys and make reads, or Chris, the same thing. Like he's like a chess player out there, just with how he plays the game and picks people apart and picks defenses apart. So that's what I love. Like I love learning and just finding ways to get better and make basketball easier. And it's so fun to me when it's like that. So like you said, it was for my first year, like the guys we had, it was great.
Yeah, and now it's sort of a passing of the torch situation, because obviously we have Joe moving on to Orlando, Wes moving on to Atlanta. Best wishes to them. But like, just you're talking about like the advice that teammates have given you. Can you name like what's the best piece of advice, like singular piece of advice that a teammate has given you, whether that's with the Bucks in college, whatever?
It's a hard ball.
I think honestly, I think it's simple. I think it's not really from one person or one moment, but just collectively over time. It's just to like be you, and stay true to that. Like everybody knows what they can bring and what they can do, but it can be hard for people not to conform or get caught up into whether it's media, public, teammates, coaches, what other people might be saying. So just be you and stay true to that. Stay confident and believe in yourself, and that's something I just try and continue to do.
You mentioned learning from Joe and Chris in terms of seeing the floor a little bit more. I want to know, like, it just playing now, and obviously, like you said, you haven't played with the full team and the season hasn't started or anything like that, but do you feel like already kind of the game is slowing down a little bit? I mean, that's something I feel like you hear really across sports as players get more experience. Like the game slows down, the reads become, more apparent. And I guess on top of that, this team doesn't have many traditional point guards on the roster. If you do feel like the game is slowing down, do you think that you could see players like yourself or just some of the other guys handling the ball a little bit more, because there aren't, the kind of point guards that we had last season, whether it's Javon Carter or even someone like Ingles, who was a wing, but basically played point guard offensively in his minutes there?
The more, like as the season went on, just the more reps and feel and experience that you get out there, the easier it gets. So I think as that continues, I'll just get more comfortable. And yeah, I think just with knowing basketball and understanding it, that if they needed me to, I feel comfortable doing that. But I'll just, like I mentioned earlier, like whatever they need me to do to help the team win and whatever role that may be, I'm all in for it. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see.
It's gonna be an interesting start to the season. Obviously, you guys have a new coaching staff that everyone needs to work together to sort of find out how this season's going to progress. The roster has had some changes. You obviously bring in guys like Malik Beasley, Robin Lopez returns to the team. Obviously, you didn't get a chance to play with him, but in Milwaukee, but he's back with the Bucks. It's just like Ty mentioned earlier. There's like a lack of traditional point guards on the roster. but you guys do have a ton of like a stacked wing rotation. Like you have yourself, you have Grayson Allen, you have Malik Beasley, you have like Chris, you have Pat, you have so many guys. And each of you brings like a unique skill set to the game. There's not like, oh, just like mix and match these sort of guys. It's like, no, each one brings something unique, something different. Is that something that's sort of like, is that valued, or is it sort of like in terms of like your own like personal like growth and development, or is it sort of like oh, I want to be able to like, get my chance to shine rather than just being like matchup dependent like roles?
I think having guys like that brings value because, like you said, that each person kind of has their own little, thing that they bring that's different. And I think when you have a lot of that on the court, it can be tough just for teams to guard and defend. And I think it really it brings when they click and it brings the most value out of guys. Like, it kind of makes me think a little bit of like the Heat this past year and how like they let guys just kind of rock. Like, it wasn't like Jimmy was their guy, but they played in a way that they got the most out of each person. And I think that's why it made them so good. So I think we could have something similar to that maybe.
That's a fascinating, I think, perspective on it, and we certainly hope that the Bucks are in a deep playoff run again this coming season. Rohan, you mentioned Malik Beasley. I believe he posted on IG as a story. He was like one off of what looked like a shooting competition. I think he had 89. I think the record is 90. Did you set the record? Do you know who set the record? And are you intending to set the record if you aren't the one who set it? Because I can imagine from some of the videos the Bucks have shared that there is a lot of good-natured fun at some of these competitions, shooting included.
Yeah, it's just a little shooting thing that we do every once in a while. I think it's Grayson that has the record, so we're all gunning for it, and we're definitely trying to beat it. So it's a little thing we do a couple times a week or every day, just at the end of a workout. Get up some threes and try and beat that number.
Is it straight up like 100 threes at the different spots?
Yeah, it's just 100 catch and shoot threes.
Mm-hmm. 90, wow! NBA players are different.
That's a lot.
you guys are different.
Yeah. It's a lot of time to put in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of grinding. Like, you guys spend your lives like dedicating yourselves to the craft, and it really shows. Like, the hard work comes through for sure. And like I mentioned earlier, like, you guys are the top percentile at basketball players in the world. Here's a fun little thing. I mentioned Robin Lopez is back. Obviously, you weren't with the team then, but when he was previously with the Bucks, they did like a pregame like fake wrestling routine. Do you know anything about that, and if that's returning?
I have no idea. I've seen those videos from a few years back when they had it, but we'll see what happens this year with it.
Do you want it to come back?
Yeah, are you a wrestling guy? Would you get into this? Would you? I know you'll do whatever the team needs, but would you be excited to jump in this?
Yeah, I think it's fun. Like, there's so many games throughout the season that you got to find ways to just have fun and enjoy it. So I'd be all for it. We'll
look forward to seeing if you suplex anyone this season. Hopefully only in that part of in those kind of situations. Is there one game or one in-game moment that really stands out from your rookie season? Obviously, you had a couple, I'd say, or several NBA games where you got in and got to make a real impact. Is it the first one? Is it career high? Like, what, when you think about it, if you think about it, looking back, really stands out as like a very special moment for you in year one?
I think I just got to go with the first game. My first like actual minutes NBA game with the Bucks. I think it was against Cleveland at home when I hit my first three, my first points. I think it's tough to beat. It's the moment you've always dreamed of, and to just be out there and experience it, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I guess I also wondered, you obviously coming from Northern Iowa, and it seems like there's been a couple NBA players coming through the draft where this is true recently. J-Dub, Jalen Williams from Santa Clara, like these guys from schools that aren't the blue bloods, maybe aren't in the most prestigious conferences, but really come into the league and make an impact right away. Do you feel like those kind of players are now pretty under-scouted when it comes to the NBA draft? I mean, it feels like between the major schools, the G League Ignite team, now Overtime Elite, of course, overseas, you see Wembanyama, of course, was going to go first this year. But do you think that maybe there's not enough focus either now or maybe there ever was on players like yourself who, played outstanding basketball at some of these, lesser watched schools across the country?
Yeah, I don't know if it's under scouting or just maybe not playing, in the NCAA tournament on that bigger stage. But I think when you play at a school like that, whether it's me or Jalen Williams or even I don't know his name, but the rookie this year from Santa Clara, the lefty, um, I think you're forced to just kind of learn so much about basketball and how to have success that you have to like do a lot of different things in a way, so it almost prepares you to understand and know so many different things, where then whatever role that you need to do at the next level, you have experience and know how to do that, if that makes sense. And I mean, it's true, like you look at some of the top point guards in the leagues, like went to schools like that, like Steph, Dame. Trae Young went to Oklahoma, but he was the guy there, did everything. Like, it's true with a lot of the top players. So um, I love guys that choose to take that route, and obviously, I'm all for it. And you don't have to go to a big school to have success and make the dream come true.
Is that something you've got to talk to Amari Moore at all about? Like, I know to your point of having to do everything, I think it was like decades his school hadn't made the tournament until he kind of got there and lifted up that program. Like, obviously, you haven't had a ton of time with the new teammates yet, but seems like kind of a similar guy there as well.
Yeah, for sure. I really haven't gotten a chance to talk to him much about it yet, but I think you can see it in his game a little bit, just in the chances you guys played during summer league, that he's similar in that way. Whether it's defensively, just knowing where to be, what to do, or offensively knowing the game and making reads and passes. So I'm excited for him, and he's in a great organization. Obviously, I think he's going to really just have a great year.
I mean, talking about your collegiate career, obviously you had a few years at Northern Iowa and you were massively successful and managed to sign a two-way contract with the Bucks. You sort of stayed in the Midwest area. Is that something that like kind of was important to you, or is it just like I just want an opportunity?
I mean, it's both. You can't be picky at all. Like, I think it just worked out perfectly for me. To where I was fortunate enough to be with the Bucks, and it's close to, like, it's a 4-hour drive from where I'm at to Milwaukee, and I got family in the cities and in Wisconsin, so it's close to where everybody can come and support. And I'm just super grateful for that, and that I get a few more years here to continue and just try and build and make a name for myself and keep going.
Are you making that drive yourself?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Easy drive. Yep.
Not chartering planes or anything just quite yet for the Iowa drive. That's commendable. I was going to ask. This might be a hack question, like a tough question. I believe I saw you shared on IG. You're getting married this year. I am also getting married this year. How much? Thank you. You as well. How much of the like logistic stuff are you in there on? Because I had no idea how much needs to be planned, how many vendors, how many things need to be sent. Address has gotten, it's a lot. As you can tell from my stress level in my voice, I'm a pretty equal partner in this. Are you in there on this process?
I'm sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good. No worries.
Yeah, it's a lot of stress. And like you said, there's so many things. Like my fiance, I don't know how she does it. She's been amazing throughout this process, just with planning everything and organizing it and what needs to be done. And I try to help out and do what I can. Um, but it's a lot. So I mean, think we're like 20 something days away. So I'm just excited to get there
Yeah.
and get married.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. So good luck to you down the stretch here, and hope everything goes well. And look forward to congratulating you the day itself or whenever after. I wanted to ask, just get back to basketball now. Although I had to ask that when I saw it's coming up for you too, because I was like, no one knows, no one who hasn't been married knows what this is. This is a lot. You can tell I'm not cut out to be a professional athlete, because I've had to make like 40 phone calls and I'm drained from it. But we talked about the great vets on the Bucks. I want to know, are there any players on other teams around the league that you kind of look at and think, that's someone that kind of plays like the way you play or you want to play, or that you can take anything from watching them or even playing directly against them? Just guys around the league who you think are, maybe not like a facsimile for how you play, but that you can take things from and kind of incorporate them into your game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys. I really liked in college. I loved watching CJ and McCollum a lot. Just kind of how he plays, and he's always, at his pace and getting to his spots and finding ways to do that without being like crazy athletic, high flying, super fast type of guy. But it was amazing this year. Like there's every game you can find somebody new, even if they're not really the same type of player, but maybe there's one thing that is similar or is kind of close that I could, work toward or eventually add to my game. Like I mentioned, like always learning, always trying to learn and pick things up, and just make mental notes of, how guys have success, what allows them to do that, what of those things could I possibly add to who I am as a player.
Are you a league pass guy on days off? Are you watching games, or are you just chilling?
I'm always watching hoops. Yeah, I'm always watching games.
Speaking of your college influences, I have to ask, who were your influences like as you were a kid, like just learning the game?
My dad, quite a bit. Obviously, he coaches. He's at Iowa State right now. But honestly, like he did a great job. Like a lot of credit goes to him. He got me in the gym. And a lot of it, I just like in high school when I was younger, I just went in by myself and just like was creative and just was in the gym messing around, working on stuff. And then right like when I was in high school about to commit, his name's Seth Tuttle. He played at Northern Iowa, played at overseas a few years, and is an assistant now at UNI. He had a huge influence just on me and the entire process of college and going into the NBA and that whole thing. And so I'd say those, my dad and him were the two main ones.
That's really cool. I mean, I feel like, and it's hard to argue with you that your dad did a great job, because NBA player AJ Green. So I think that one is pretty much a solid fact at this point. One thing I wanted to ask is, and you mentioned that you love being able to go and play 30 in Oshkosh and of course get the NBA minutes as well when they were there. Was it difficult for you to kind of go back and forth? And maybe, I know sometimes for guys who do play semi-regularly in the G League, you can find out like that day, right? Like it's not all planned out ahead. It depends on all these other things. Is that difficult, or is it always just easy for you to show up and say, if I'm here, on the bench today, that's fine. If I'm playing 30 minutes in Oshkosh, that's fine too. Like, is it just easy to do that, or can it be difficult mindset wise to get used to going back and forth a little bit?
Yeah, the hardest part was definitely mental, because a lot of times you didn't know, and it would be last minute. So you really always got to be prepared and always like trust your preparation. But I loved it because ultimately, as much travel or back and forth as it might be, like you're getting to play basketball and going places to play games, and that's a blessing in itself. So I just tried to stay ready and just, be able to enjoy the process and the moments.
And then you obviously, played on the two-way all of last season. The NBA expanded to a third one this year, which is something we're pretty excited about to increase those opportunities. Clearly it worked for you, so I'm guessing I know the answer here, but would you recommend that approach to a player, coming out of the draft, whether it's a second rounder or an undrafted player, that opportunity to go get that two-way? Because, of course, there's no guarantee ever of what's going to happen, but just that opportunity to spend more time with the NBA club does seem very valuable. And if you liked it, are you excited about there being a third spot this season for those players on each team?
I think it'll be huge. Yeah, I think, guys should do it because you'll have opportunities. You'll get to be around, both programs and the top program, obviously, quite a bit. So I think it's great that they're doing that. And hopefully more guys will, be in for that and take that route. And I mean, you're seeing it more and more guys starting, whether it's in the G League or two-way, and building their way up. So I think it's great.
Yeah, and you're teammates with the first ever G League alum to be an All-Star, and Chris Middleton. So there are stories of success. So I'm glad you relished the opportunity, and obviously you took advantage. And now we're with the big squad. What are you most excited about for actually being on the main roster this season?
I mean, the same stuff, really. Just another opportunity another season to play, grow and get better, and win games, and hopefully win in the playoffs and make a run at it. I think that's honestly the biggest thing. Like, I'll get to be around the team full time, I guess, and be at all practices and at every game and learning and all of that as well. But just to get better, really, that's all it is.
Yeah, the playoff eligibility. Yeah, that should be a big thing.
That's true. Yeah, for sure. I forgot about that. Yeah, that'll be fun too.
Is there any specific aspect of your game that you're most excited to get better about this year? I'll say one of the highlights of watching you at Oshkosh this past year was some of the times you mentioned how CJ gets to his spots. It stood out. There were times when you were on the ball a little more and you would get to that mid-range spot, and whether it was like a turnaround or just a straight pull-up, it was kind of like when AJ's playing in Milwaukee, it's more just spacing a lot of the time. Because, of course, Giannis, Chris Drew, there's so many established, talented players up there. But that did stand out in Oshkosh as well. Is it that? Is it something else? Or just what is your focus, I guess, going into the season?
I think just to continue to be a even better shooter, with more variability, and just be able to make shots, make all types of shots, be consistent with it, and then just continuing and get better in defensively and show that I can guard and I can move, and use my physicality and be like reliable defensively, and someone they can trust. So those are just my two biggest things, really continuing to, be a star in my role in that way.
The shooting variability you mentioned, is that kind of like shooting off movement more of different looks, or what exactly are you thinking when you look at that? Because I know like when Duncan Robinson first emerged, I did a deep dive on like how he would shoot, and he would like take two huge steps with the ball and then pull. It broke the league for about a season there, and I remember just thinking like I didn't know anyone could do this. That feels like it's becoming more prevalent now as like threes are just accepted more around the league. Is it kind of the movement shooting or anything specific that you're thinking about when you focus on improving your shooting?
Yeah, literally all of that. Like any variable that you could think that goes into shooting, whether it's the speed that you go into the shot with, like the balance, like the rotation of like your body on the shot, the release, how fast it is, your feet, like any of those things, any variable you could think within a shot is something that I'll work on and just try and push, because I want to be able to make like any shot. Like people always say, like, try not to do this with the shot, try not to do that, or like keep it as one shot type of thing. But I see it more as like, well, why, like, that's impossible. Like, why not just be able to make all shots and not have to worry about shooting it a certain way? So that's what I kind of love about trying to get better as a shooter is having fun with that and pushing those boundaries.
I love that you have like the Kawhi Leonard approach to help defense for shooting. Like it famously, when he was in college, he didn't understand the concept of, he's like, why would I help? Why would anyone help? Let's just defend the guy. Why would I not just take and make all the shots? It seems like shooting's kind of evolved, right? Because that was like the old school mindset, right? Was you got your form and you load up into it. And it seems like this last decade, half decade here, certainly guys like Steph, who you'll just see him take something. It's like, that's not a good shot. It goes in. Dame famously, Paul George said it's not a good shot. Like, do you feel like there's kind of been an evolution there and that is now more accepted for players to, take all different kind of looks?
I think it is, just because of, guys that paved the way, like you said, was Dame or Steph, Clay, like kind of those first guys that did that. And just the value that shooting has now, I think people might be more open to being creative or just, I don't know, different things within it, I guess.
It's funny. A video of Steph versus the Spurs in like game 73 or whatever. They were going for their 72nd win, and it was like them against the Spurs, who were 40-0 at home at the time. And it was just like, I was watching these. I forgot a lot of the stuff that he had done, because that season of Steph was one of the greatest offensive seasons I've ever seen in terms of like basketball efficiency. The shots that he was taking were audacious. It was absolutely insane. It's the understatement of the century to say that he's influenced the game of basketball. I'll ask you a fun question. Have you gotten to meet the fake AJ Green, the football AJ Green?
No, I have not gotten to meet him yet.
There's that old commercial, I don't know if you remember this, where it was like a normal guy named Michael Jordan, and he would like check in for reservations and they'd be all like, oh, we thought it was, Michael Jordan. Have you ever had a moment like that where someone's like, oh, athlete AJ Green is coming, and they expect the football player? Has that happened to you?
It's never happened to me in person, no, but like my fiance will always tell me if it happened like on social media. I guess people will always on Twitter and be like, oh, okay, AJ Green's in the NBA now, or like Switch Sports or something like that.
Yeah. There's always somebody who thinks it's a great joke when we'll be tweeting about the games, right? And AJ Green just down a shot. He switched sports. It's like, yeah, okay, it's a good bit. It was maybe a good bit the first couple of weeks. It's been a year now. I think we can move on, but so I got to ask, for the sanctity of the podcast going forward, which of your teammates on the Bucks do you think would be the best Gyro Step guest interview? And will you put in a good word for us? That's the second part of the question. That's the important part.
I'll absolutely put in a good word for you guys.
Yes.
I don't know. Have you had guy or who's been on it already, or
we had
anybody?
Yeah, we had Javon, and I would say, I mean, this bodes really well for your season, because like the year he had after coming on the pod, I mean, pretty outstanding season for Javon Carter. So I think in line for a very strong AJ Green season based on that trend. But no, we've just had Javon on. We've gotten to talk to, actually, I think a lot of the guys now we talked to Wara and Mamu before after Herd games, but have not officially had them on the podcast yet.
Bobby too.
Oh, and Bobby, of course. Yeah, you got to talk to Bobby Portis at his podcast event.
Yeah, I'll see who's open to it. I'll throw it out there and see if anybody's down for it.
There we go.
Let you guys know. Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that.
Do you have some of your teammates in the past have gotten, obviously Bobby is Keep It a Buck, Thanasis is Thanalysis. Have you gotten a chance to? Is that something you'd ever be interested in?
In starting a podcast?
Yeah.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. I've never really thought about it. But I think it would be fun. Just talking about it.
Like it.
Yeah, I think, they do. And I mean, they're becoming more and more popular. And I think it's a good way to just kind of build who you are. Like, you don't even got to talk about basketball, but just have people or build fans that are just fans of who you are as a person outside of just as a player, kind of.
Yeah, it seems like people find it really refreshing to hear more from their players. I mean, obviously, Bobby and Thanasis, potential teammate this year. We'll see. A new report came out today. I won't ask you about that, AJ. I'm not going to get you in trouble. But Jeff Teague has been going viral a lot. Jeff Teague is hilarious on podcasts, and he played for the Bucks. I had no idea how funny Jeff Teague was. Paul George's podcast, I think, has had some really, really awesome episodes too. Do you listen to, and you can lie if you want to not offend any of your teammates with podcasts, but do you listen to NBA podcasts at all? Like, do you find it interesting as well? Or are you like kind of getting those stories from just, being in the league and being on the team with those guys?
I've listened to a few here and there. My dad is somebody that listens to a lot of them, so he'll send me them every once in a while. But like you said, like, it's cool. Like, I get to hear the stories just playing or on the bus, like, firsthand, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, you get probably the unfiltered stories too. I mean, you're probably getting the better stories than we get, honestly.
Yeah.
I wanted
is there any like PG story that you were willing to share from any? You don't have.
Yeah, I don't know. Not off the top of my head. I'd have to think about it.
That's fair.
Maybe
Have you gotten any good Marcus Johnson stories yet? I saw this. He's thankfully seems doing very well. He just had I believe a hip replacement procedure. He's been posting about a lot, but Marcus is someone I think known for incredible stories. I mean, I've heard Marcus tell on the broadcast and on Twitter some outstanding stories. Have you gotten any from him yet? And is that just like so easy to listen to someone like that who has been around the league and just been around the world and knows so many people?
I have not yet.
Oh.
But I guess I'll have to.
Yeah.
I'll definitely need to next time I run into him. Yeah. Catch a few.
He's got a lot of them. That is for sure.
He's a gift to us
yes.
watchers.
Yes.
Just like him on the broadcast is just iconic, and obviously him with the Bucks as a player was iconic, and now just him as a broadcaster has took it to a whole another level. We all love Marcus Johnson.
Yeah,
for sure.
You've got to.
Awesome.
AJ, I don't think we've got any other questions for you. Usually when we have a guest, we give them, if they want to promote anything, feel free if you want to. I don't know if you have, social media, any stuff going on that you want to. Otherwise, just, tell people to tune into the Bucks games and check you out this season, whatever works for you. But I don't want to unfairly take away the opportunity for promo that I would give like another podcaster or something like that.
Yeah, I can't say I really have any promos or plugs to throw in there, but I appreciate you guys for just talking today and talking hoops. And yeah, definitely it's going to be an exciting year. I got a lot of faith in what Coach Griffin's going to do with the team and what he's got planned. And I think, guys are hungry, and it's going to be a fun year for sure.
Absolutely. Again, AJ, thank you so much for your time. We'll have to do this again sometime when you have some time on the calendar later on, but wishing you a fantastic season and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That was our conversation with AJ Green, who by the Javon Carter corollary is due for an outstanding season now that he's been on the Gyro Step. Rohan, let's hear your post game on the AJ Green interview. What were your thoughts coming out of that conversation?
He's really, really, really excited about Adrian Griffin.
Yes.
And I think that's something that should excite a lot of Bucks fans.
Yes.
Is that he talked multiple times about how excited he is to for the Bucks to play differently. I think the biggest point was we're switching up our defensive scheme.
Yeah. Yeah, it's without specifics mainly because they haven't actually all played together at all yet. That seemed, and the fact that he said he was excited about that because so many things that, and this is consistent to when I've talked to him. Like I remember before the NBA trade deadline with the Herd, I asked him are you worried about the trade deadline? He goes, no, I can't be worried about stuff like that. The coaching change. He said the same thing. So I kind of expected him, the defensive change. Are you excited or anything? He's basically yeah, I am excited. He didn't say it's whatever, I'll do what they need me. He said, no, I'm excited about that. I agree with you. I also thought it was very interesting that he had the same take about watching the Heat and taking stuff away from the Heat that we did. I mean, it was more of, the coaching search, and they obviously didn't go with Chris Quinn. But that was interesting. That kind of came out of nowhere a little bit that I think having all these different wing players and letting them thrive, that's kind of what the Heat did. I was like, oh, I did not think of it like that, but that's a very interesting perspective too.
It's crazy. Obviously, these guys want to learn from what happened, and he had a front row seat, literally, because he couldn't play because he was ineligible to play the playoff.
Not this year, though.
Not this year. And it was fun that he was like, "Yeah, I forgot about that." But yeah, he had a front row seat to what the Heat did to the Bucks and what the Heat did in general. And yeah, obviously, you want to learn from what happened there, and it's good to see that the actual players on the roster are also taking that into account.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from this, I'm just really excited to watch AJ this season. Hopefully, he gets some more Bucks run, and if he ends up playing, with the herd at all again this year, because clearly, he's focused on all sorts of his game, all sorts of aspects of his game. Although I do love that, he's not just a shooter; he has other parts of his game. I still, though, do love that he is locked in on improving the shooting even more, because I do think, being more of a versatile movement shooter, all these different angles, maybe some of the Pat Condon catch high, shoot high, even we'll see from him. It sounds like he's working on every look. That kind of stuff, I mean, that's going to be really exciting to see a player who's already such a great shooter locked on getting even better, out there on the floor, especially when Giannis is out there. Also, his answer to that question, I mean, when you asked him, do you feel the pressure of playing with Giannis, knowing you have to hit those wide open shots? He smiled big. He was thinking about how open those shots are. He embraces it. That's a mindset I think you really love to see from a player.
It's what you have to have when you're playing next to a guy like Giannis. It's like, yeah, you have to relish these opportunities. You can't get scared of the moment. You have to know exactly what you need to do. And it seems that AJ Green knows exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, on the floor and, via texting teammates, hey, Gyro Step podcast, make it happen. He said he put in a good word. We'll see. Fingers crossed. But I think that's all we've got to say now. But thank you again for everyone for listening. If you've never listened before, please subscribe, whether it's on YouTube or your podcast platform of choice. We don't get Bucks players on every week, but we're doing podcasts on the Bucks
as of now.
Putting
in a good word.
That's true. That's probably going to change. He's going to be an agent after his playing days, a podcast agent. But we do cover the Bucks all the time, at least once a week, and that'll obviously ramp up even more when they're in season. So subscribe. You can go to gspn.info to find all our links. Otherwise, wherever you're watching and listening, please subscribe. But yeah, thank you again also to AJ Green, who took the time and was very generous with his time and gave us some truly great answers to think about.
Yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed listening to that, because we sure as hell loved listening, talking with AJ about that. Incredible insight. It's just a great guy. I really, really appreciate AJ Green for that. And like you had mentioned, Ty, make sure you check out gspn.info for all our links. Subscribe to everything. We also have Win in 6, which is going to be on this feed. That'll ramp up during the season as well, with Adam McGee, Jordan Tresky. We also cover the Packers, Talk of the Tundra with Newmock and Jordan Tresky. We also have Cruising for Bruising for all of you Brewers fans out there with Adam McGee and Andrew Snyder.
Trade deadline coming up.
You're going to want to subscribe so you can get that. Also, Adam and Andrew, they do Make Time for This, which is a good movie review. So they're going to have a Barbenheimer pod coming later. Should be coming soon. So make sure you subscribe to all of those. Check out gspn.info for all of those links. Pod random, and we will talk to you next time.